The products announced at Apple's September event are not even fully out yet. They're launching this Friday. However, there's already a ton of info on Apple's next event, which will be in October. So here are not 5, not 10, but 6. Yeah, we've only got 6, but still 6 new products to expect in the upcoming weeks. Okay, so most of you probably know by now that September is always focused on the latest iPhones, while the October event is focused on the Macs and the iPads. But really the start of this event will actually be not an iPad, but the new Mac Mini. This new Mac Mini will probably be the biggest update that the Mac Mini lineup has ever received. There are essentially 3 big changes here. 1, a new design, 2, new ports, and 3, more performance. So let me just start with the new design. Mark Gurman reports that the new model will be the first redesign since the last one in 2010. Which is when Apple switched from the taller, thicker, but smaller body to this shorter, slimmer, and larger one that we still have today. And apparently this new design will be the smallest Mac Mini ever, being almost as small as an Apple TV, measuring just 3.7 inches across, so less than half the width of the current Mac Mini. So this new Mac Mini will basically be just as small as an Apple TV. At least in terms of the width. It is expected to be taller though, so it will actually look very similar in size to the old Apple TV 4K that I've got right here and that I'm still using at home, by the way. The reason why this one is taller than the newer 2022 model is because this one has a fan inside, which the new one doesn't. The new Mac Mini will of course also have a fan, more than just me. Honestly, I never thought the current Mac Mini was too big, but when you think about how thin and compact the M4 iPad Pro is and how it doesn't have much volume, it does make sense that this new Mac Mini is redesigned to take advantage of this transition to Apple Silicon, especially when you remember how much empty space we have inside the current Mac Mini. I'm just surprised that this redesign took this long to arrive. But I think that just having this tiny box sitting on your desk that can then power multiple monitors and barely takes up any space is so cool. Plus, you'll also be able to carry it with you in your bag when you go on holiday. You can simply just take the Mac Mini, an HDMI cable, and connect it to your hotel's TV. Or if you work remotely in a co-working space or you've got multiple offices around the world, you can just take this thing with you and connect it to your external displays in the office that you arrive at. Of course, the laptop will be more convenient, but the Mac Mini will be smaller and cheaper too, and also have way more ports. The only downside to this redesign is that companies that use a lot of Mac Minis for their servers, like Mac Stadium, will now need to change their server racks to fit these new Mac Minis, as before they could just slot them in and out. The second big upgrade is when it comes to its ports. We are set to get 5 USB-C ports. This was also confirmed by macOS Code, by the way. So 3 on the back and 2 on the front, in addition to the HDMI port, power cable, and headphone jack. So we are losing the 2 USB-A ports that the current Mac Mini has, but we are gaining 1 extra USB-C port, which will likely also be Thunderbolt. Plus we also have those 2 on the front, which before they were just on the back for convenience. This is just awesome. I'm not sure what's happening with the Ethernet port though, because we haven't really had any leaks on this going away or staying. I think that unless Apple positions those 3 USB-Cs on the back above the other ports, they will need to remove the Ethernet to make room for all the extra ports, which I think would be a shame, as having 10 gig Ethernet on the Mac Mini was such a big selling point before. Which brings me to the last update, the performance. And before we continue, here's something that I think a lot of you will find very helpful, and that is Incogni, our sponsor. Your data is invaluable, but as data breaches become more prevalent, your data is being monetized by data brokers like HackerRank for profit. Incogni removes your personal information from these archives by reaching out to brokers to stop spam, identity theft, robocalls, and more. You also have the option to include multiple emails and see where they have been compromised too. Doing this yourself is very time-consuming, and you also need to be vigilant after every breach. Incogni saves you the hassle by automatically sending repeated removal requests, so you never need to worry about data breaches again. Keep your data safe and sign up for Incogni using incogni.com/ZONEofTECH to get an exclusive 60% discount on their annual Incogni plan. Okay, now back to the Mac Mini's performance. It is expected to feature the M4 chip up from the current M2, which is actually a significant upgrade. Single core wise, the M4 is 37% faster. while multi-core wise, the M4 is 34% faster, as we now get 10 CPU cores instead of 8. However, the GPU is an even bigger upgrade, as we now get hardware-based ray tracing. And when we compared the M4 iPad Pro against the previous M2 model, we saw as much as a 71% faster GPU performance when running ray tracing workloads. So if you use Blender, the Mac Mini is going to be a huge upgrade. However, I think the bigger upgrade will be in terms of RAM. It's been rumored that all M4 Macs will come with 16GB of RAM as the default, up from 8. In fact, Mark Gurman stated that the M4 Mac Minis come in two configurations, a 16GB and a 32 version, meaning that we would have a 32GB option for the very first time in a non-Pro chip. And speaking of the Pro chip, there will also be an M4 Pro version of this new Mac Mini. We don't actually have any leaked details on the M4 Pro chip specs. However, I would expect a bump in the CPU core count here, just like we got in the M4. So from the current 12 to maybe 14, and then also a bump in terms of RAM from the current 18 and 36GB options to possibly 20 and 40. So all in all, the new Mac Mini is a huge upgrade and definitely the start of the October event. However, there are 5 more products to expect. The next one is a brand new base MacBook Pro, which would keep the same design as now, but update the chip from the M3 to the M4. I guess the cool thing about this MacBook Pro is that just like the new Mac Mini, it will finally come with more RAM, 16GB on the base with the option to bump it to 32. We've had a lot of issues with our 8GB RAM M3 MacBook Pro, with apps crashing, especially Final Cut, and some cases like ray tracing in Blender not even working at all. So I'm really happy to see this finally being fixed now. But yeah, no other changes aside from the M4 chip. And just like with the M4 Pro, we haven't had any leaks whatsoever on the M4 Max either. However, just like with the M4 Pro, where I expected a bump from 12 CPU cores to 14, I'd expect a bump for the M4 Max too, from 16 to possibly 18. Giving us almost double the core count compared to the original M1 Max. The GPU will for sure get bumped too, although it's hard to say what the core count would be here. From the M2 Max to the M3 Max, we got a bump from 38 cores to 40. So maybe we'll see 42 this time around, and on the M4 Pro, I would expect 20 up from 18. Now, aside from these new MacBooks, we're also expecting to see a brand new iMac. Still in the same design as now, and possibly even in the same colors, just with the M4 chip. However, we do have some stunning 8K wallpapers to match each of the iMac's colors included in our Prism Polygons pack by Michael, or our new upcoming Peaceful Planets pack by Elisher, which will be launching this Friday. You can download our app wallpapers from the App Store and the Play Store, or by using the links below. And yeah, when it comes to the new iMac, really the main upgrade here, I would say, would be when it comes to the RAM. Jumping to 16GB on the base would be just awesome for future-proofing. I would also love to see Apple offer the iMac in an M4 Pro variant, especially since they stopped selling the larger 27-inch model years ago. So for people who want an ultimate all-in-one desktop with great performance, they don't really have any option right now, as the base M4 model is just not powerful enough for more professional workloads. Now, aside from the new Macs, we're also getting some brand new iPads. The new iPad mini 7th gen is finally expected to come at the October event, and this will have a number of upgrades over the current 6th gen model that was originally released 3 years ago in September of 2021. The chip is expected to be bumped to either the A17 Pro or the A18, which would give it Apple Intelligence, thanks to 8GB of RAM, ray tracing, and also the ability to play AAA titles on mobile. And of course, the 8GB of RAM bump from 4 that we had before is going to be a huge upgrade in terms of multitasking. The back and the front cameras are set to be upgraded too, as well as Wi-Fi 6E up from Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5.3 from Bluetooth 5 for faster pairing with newer AirPods. And there's also set to be an updated base iPad, which was last updated back in October of 2022. Now, the main change here is said to be just the new chip, likely from the A14 to the new A15. As we already did get a brand new design in 2022, so I don't really expect any design changes happening here. And that's about it. Let me know what your favorite new product is, and check out Incogni, our sponsor, by using the link below. I'm Daniel, this has been ZONEofTECH, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.